increased India's growth outlook just a little bit, 0.2 from 6.8 to 7, suggesting that things were better than they had initially apprehended. What's your sense of the way the Indian economic growth is panning out at this moment?
So we have the numbers that we put out in December, which is 6.8% for this fiscal year and 6.1% for the next. We're seeing a strong recovery in India. Compared to other countries, we say, it's relatively a bright spot. So I think it's in a good place. And importantly, many countries are looking to India as an investment destination at this point, especially as they try to diversify out of other countries, including China. So Rahul, the way I would describe the outlook is that we have a tough year ahead, 2023, but we certainly are seeing signs of resilience around the world. So in terms of a global recession, I think we are still a fair bit away from it. Now, it could happen. We could end up if there were more downside risks that emerge. But in terms of our projections, which we'll actually put the numbers out at the end of this month, we're not in a global recession territory. Now, of course, there are individual countries that are closer to a recession than others are, and that's something that several people are talking about. There's still the war. We still have inflation that's high and monetary policy tightening that continues, and we'll see the consequences of it. So we should see a global economy that slows this year. But by the second half of this year, we expect to see a recovery and then a rebound into 2024. So that's how I would describe the outlook.
Let's talk of China. China opened up all of a sudden, which has created a massive health emergency at this moment. You've tracked the pandemic very closely, so give us your sense of what you think is happening in China and the uptick in Chinese growth. Do you see this as being very short term, or do you think that China will be able to sustain its growth momentum over a longer period of time?
So what we have right now in China is indeed a health crisis with the pandemic going around in full force. If you look at peak infection rates and so on, we're seeing peaks, for instance, happen in Beijing. So the expectation as of now is that much of this will come down by the end of the first quarter, and then we would see a strong recovery in China. So there's going to be just that rebound coming because mobility will come back and restrictions will be lifted. But there are still factors weighing on growth in China, one of which is the property sector. The property sector is in crisis. The government is doing a lot of actions have been taken. Recently, they've announced many measures, so that could help. But that is an important concern. External demand is slowing as the global economy slows, so that obviously has a negative factor for China too. But again, looking into the future, China needs greater productivity growth. It has aging demographics, and we saw the headline today, which is population actually fell in China for the first time. So we need higher productivity growth in China. That requires more private enterprise, a more level, even playing field between the state-owned enterprises and the private enterprises. Again, in December, the authorities came out and said that they were going to focus a lot on growth and on this evenness. But we'll see what exactly is announced in terms of policies, because we haven't seen that yet.